لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أما بعد، إن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Every time that I have the opportunity to give a khutbah or a talk or a halaqah at a college campus, I have this deep nostalgia about how it used to feel like when I was in college, which wasn't that long ago. But every time I used to come back, I would wish that I could come back, because truthfully speaking, my college days were probably the best days of my life, at least up until then, and then much after. And this complex where I needed to feel like a younger man got so bad that I decided to go back for my master's this year. I thought that, if I go back for my master's, at least I can act like I'm a college student. Maybe I can recreate that experience in some respect. So I started this last August as a student at Emory to get my MBA. And one of the first classes we took, and we just finished it this last Wednesday actually, was a marketing class. And this was probably one of the most phenomenal classes I've taken in my life for a variety of reasons, but mostly because beyond just talking about how to advertise or how to make more money through marketing, it talked about deeply profound thought processes that would apply in marketing but actually would work throughout your life. And in the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been talking about pricing. And we've been talking about how do you take a product that you have and how do you price it so it's attractive to the consumer. Now, you and me might think, and this is reasonable to think this way because this is how we live our lives, you say you price a product based on its worth, right? You say, okay, a laptop, Apple, is worth $2,000, it costs this much to make, so let's just price it accordingly. Or they say that there's this model where you take your costs plus 10%, and they say that's something that people do. But in this class, we realized that that's completely foolish. And they say it's foolish because people, you and I, consumers, don't determine how to buy something based on its value because we don't even know how to determine its value. And we don't know how to price something or buy something based on its cost because we don't know how much it costs. We make predictions, we say, yeah, a bottle of Coke costs 5 cents to make, yet we're still willing to pay $1.25 for something that costs 5 cents to make, which is what, 2,000% the cost? Whatever the case, they said you price something based on points of reference. You and me are willing to pay for something because we have a point of reference, and that point of reference could be whatever the marketer decides. And they proved this point through a lot of studies, but they took one that I found particularly interesting. They said they presented a group of people with this dictionary, and this dictionary was kind of old, but it had some amount of words, 2,000 or 20,000 or something like that. And they said, how much would you pay for this dictionary? And everyone said some value. And then they gave another group of people another dictionary, which had half the words, but it was brand new, brand new. And they said, how much would you pay for this? And what stuck out to the consumer was brand new, it must be worth more. They didn't have the other point of reference, so they gave a value, and they said through the study, they found that people were willing on average to pay more for the dictionary that was new, but had half the words. Now you and me know the value of a dictionary is its words, so why are we willing to pay more for something we don't really care about? Then they gave these 2 dictionaries to the same group of people. And they said, how much would you pay for these 2 dictionaries? And they gave both of them. And they found not only did the prices that they're willing to pay for them change, but more significantly, it switched on what they would be willing to spend more money on. Now, if you follow that example, that's great. If you didn't follow the example, the point I'm making is what they found through this study and many studies is that people price things or are willing to pay for things based on points of reference. And that point of reference can be anything. And it has nothing to do with the inherent value of the object itself. So when marketers realize this, they create points of references that are exaggerated, or they create points of references that are false parallels. But as soon as that's in our mind, we'll pay anything. And then we get complacent in that payment. So we're like, yeah, you know what? It sounds pretty fair to spend $7.99 on Netflix because I used to spend $4 to rent a movie for one day. My point of reference is that $4. Then I bought Netflix, I get the monthly subscription, and now I've forgotten about that $4, so they've raised the price to $8.99. And then they've raised the price to $9.99. And then they've raised the price to $10.99. And then they say, for $2 more, we'll give you high definition. I don't know what's going to change, but it's just $2, so I'll pay $11.99. And in 2 months, it'll be $12.99, and in 1 year, it'll be $20.99, and I've completely forgotten that I don't even watch that much, but it used to be $4 as my point of reference, but because they've conditioned me to become complacent in spending, and they've changed the points of reference, I really have no power. I just set it to an automatic payment, and I'll pay basically whatever they ask. I've become price complacent. Now, I don't mention this to say that, okay, we should rethink our spending habits. You spend your money on what you want to spend your money on. But what I realized in this class, and like I said in the beginning, is that there's some profound concepts that are being taught. And what I realized is Shaytaan is the single best marketer of all time. The single best marketer of all time. That he conditions us, he trains us to not be price complacent, but to become morally complacent. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this conversation that Shaytaan is having with Allah. And it's one of the most profound ayat in the Quran that I've read, where Shaytaan is saying, Allah says, قَالَ رَبِّي بِمَا أَغْوَيْتَنِي. Shaytaan is saying to Allah, he says, my master, my caretaker, my protector. Now that's already so abnormal that this evil being is still recognizing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's majesty. He says, because you led me astray, he rationalizes his own wrong. He says, لَأُزَيِّنَنَّ لَهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَأُغْوَيَّنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. He says, because you led me astray, I'm going to make what they do beautiful to them. I'm going to make what they do fair seeming to them. Now, why that's so interesting is because he doesn't say, I'm going to tell them to do bad. You and I would think if you want someone to do bad, you tell them to do something bad. Okay, so Abdullah's praying Salah, and he's been praying to one God for 22 years. Shaytan's going to come up to him and say, you know what? Let's do this four-God thing. I think that's cooler. Abdullah's not going to listen. He's like, no, I've been praying to one God for this long. I'm not going to not pray to one God. Okay, fine. Abdullah's fasting. And he's been fasting with his family for so many years. Shaytan comes up to him and he says, hey, why don't we get drunk today? Abdullah's not going to do it. Shaytan can't convince you to do the wrong thing. But he can convince you the small wrong things you already do aren't that big of a deal. And when he changes your points of reference from the inherent value of an action to all of these other points of references, you and I become morally complacent. We become morally apathetic. We buy into our bad deeds because, yeah, I guess it's a big deal if you're comparing it to the truth, but why do I need to compare what I'm doing to the truth when I can compare what I'm doing to what my friend's doing? Because he does the same thing. Why do I need to compare what I'm doing to the right thing when I've gotten away with doing the wrong thing for so long? Today, and I know that was a long introduction, I want to talk about the points of reference that either you and I have created or Shaytaan has convinced us of to allow for ourselves to be morally complacent. Allows for us to be comfortable with the wrong things we do. And the first one I want to mention is a verse in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ لَا يَسْتَوِي الْخَبِيثُ وَالطَّيِّبُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he says, say that which is disgusting and that which is pure and sound are not the same. Now, the reason I mention this is because I've read this verse so many times, and whenever I used to read it, I would feel like it's so obvious. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us something that's so clear? Why is he saying to us that which is disgusting? Now I want you to take a moment. That which is disgusting and that which is pure. These are not words of that which is evil and that which is good. This is not this and that. Allah's using words that have, if you know the Arabic language, should have this visceral effect on the imagery. Khabith is trash. It's when you're walking by a dumpster and before you even get there, you can smell it and you're like, are we next to a dumpster? Okay, it's when you know viscerally the thing you're around is disgusting. And tayyib is pure, it's clean, It smells good. It's when you have everything that works out like an OCD person put it together. And you're walking in a room and you're like, what is that amazing smell? Allah's saying these two things are not the same. And you and I are thinking, well, yeah, of course they're not the same. Why would you mention this? We are looking for deep, profound truths in this book that's from God, but we're talking about how trash and things that are clean are not the same. And then Allah goes a step further and says, وَلَوْ أَعْجَبَكَ كَثْرَةُ الْخَبِيثِ. Even if you're amazed by the excessiveness of the disgust. Now, if you and me thought a pile of trash is so much different than a perfume, Allah's saying, no, no, no. Even if you want more trash, and that's going to make you happy. I'm thinking, Allah, if a little bit of trash didn't please me, why would extra trash please me? Now, it's so clear, but the truth is this is how we live our lives. That we're willing to do things that we know viscerally are disgusting. We're willing to watch all kinds of things on the internet when no one's around, and we feel like no one's watching. And if we asked ourselves 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we were 14, when we were 12, when we were 10, when our fitra was pure, do you think you would watch this? We would say, that's disgusting. I remember when I was a kid, I was talking to my mom, and they were talking about dare, maybe it doesn't happen anymore, but they had this line, dare to resist drugs. And I thought when I was 9, 10 years old, I would never do drugs. Drugs are so disgusting. Weed, cocaine, what? I didn't even know the names, but I knew viscerally that this is disgusting. And I was sitting with my mom, and I was saying, Ummi, why would they even talk to us about this some disgusting thing? There's no way in hell I would do this. And then my mom, of course, much older, says, Inshallah, make dua that you would never do it. But when I was 15, and I was 16, and I was 17, and I was 18, and all my friends were smoking weed, it didn't feel that disgusting anymore. It didn't feel that bad to sit at home by myself on the computer to do what I know I'm not supposed to do, because Abdullah and Aisha and Muhammad and Tom and Steve, they all did it. It really can't be that bad. Our point of reference for halal and haram, instead of being the deed itself, which is so clearly khabith, disgusting, we've allowed for it to be pleasing to us. We become morally complacent because of, instead of the thing being problematic, we said our point of reference are all of our friends. Our point of reference are all the TV shows that have desensitized us to pornography, that have desensitized us to cursing, that have desensitized us to drugs. I'm not even talking about like listening to music or eating non-zabiha food, all of that stuff, forget that for a second. I'm talking about the things that we know are disgusting. Forget haram and halal. This is not even something on a pulpit has to tell you. I don't have to reference ayat in the Quran that talk about how this is disgusting. You and I knew that when we were 12 years old. We knew that when we were 15 years old. We know that now, but we've become comfortable in our complacency. How do we fight that? How do we change this behavior? There's a lot of ways, but I'll give a piece of advice. In Batman Begins, if you've seen the movie, I'm sure you have, there's a scene where Bruce Wayne is talking to Alfred, and Alfred tells him why the bat or whatever, something like that. And he says something to the effect, and the Dark Knight series, by the way, is like another example of like profound haqq there, if you're willing to pay attention to it. He says people need dramatic examples to shake them out of their apathy. People need dramatic examples to shake them out of their apathy, and that's why he wore this suit. That he needed people to shake themselves out of their apathy. So I say, if your point of reference is all of these other people, find yourself a dramatic example that shakes you and me out of our apathy. Find a Sahaba who was different. Find your Batman, someone you can say that everyone else is doing wrong. And I want to do that wrong thing too, because it's very easy. It's very convenient. It's very attractive. But you know what? Instead of letting them be my standard, I'm going to let Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu be my standard. And not in everything he did, because that's impossible. But at least I'll take one piece of his life, and no matter what, I'm going to stand up for social justice any opportunity I get. I might tell a white lie. I might still watch pornography. But when it comes to social justice, that's going to be my thing because Umar radiallahu anhu is my standard, and I don't care what anyone else says, that's who I'm going to be like. Maybe social justice isn't your thing. You say Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu is your example. I'm going to tell a white lie, and I'm not the kind of person who likes to go stand in the streets and protest, but I'm going to be like Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and I'm going to be compassionate to everyone I meet, no matter what. Because that's going to be my shtick. I might still suffer with that thing in the middle of the night, but at least I have this thing that I can look at and say I have a proper point of reference. Maybe it's not him, maybe it's Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, who was beyond a genius. She is literally, in our ummah, one of the most intelligent people ever. And I'm always going to be someone who searches for knowledge, because my point of reference of how to become a better person is Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Maybe it's not a Sahaba, because Sahaba's levels are too high, so it's someone else for you. For me, it was Malcolm X. But find your point of reference that's beyond everyone around you, because we need to be better. The second example I want to talk about, the second reason we find moral complacency, we feel comfortable doing the things we do, is that we get away with it. That no one's going to call us to anything. That we don't feel accountable. We even recognize that it's disgusting. We even recognize that the thing we're doing is bad, and it causes us to feel uncomfortable. We still have our fitrah intact. We still have that purity of heart intact, but we let ourselves be comfortable with the wrong thing so that our heart starts to decay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, He says, اقْتَرَبَ لِلنَّاسِ حِسَابُهُمْ وَهُمْ فِي غَفْلَةٍ مُعْرِضُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the hour, mankind's accountability is right around the corner, and they're in clear heedlessness. Another movie, this one I doubt you've seen this before your time, was Armageddon. So Armageddon was this film about this asteroid coming to Earth. It was a Michael Bay film, so you can imagine that it was probably pretty bad. But asteroids coming to Earth, all of Earth is going to be destroyed. And when they show these trailers, they show people in coffee shops. And then like a mini asteroid would come or a meteor would come that kind of foreshadows the apocalypse that's about to come. And it would hit this coffee shop and everyone would freak out and there'd be blood everywhere. Every time I read this ayah, I think about that moment when this apocalypse is coming, except instead of freaking out by those meteors, we're sitting in that coffee shop continuing to drink our tea. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the meteor is coming. The asteroid is coming. Your accountability is here. But we're sipping our coffee, playing around, messing around, because we don't feel like accountability is around the corner. So who cares? Prophet ﷺ gives us a hadith. He says, Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin. That which is wrong, al-halal. That which is right is clear. We know the things that are right. Wal-haramu bayyin. And we know the things that are wrong. وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُتَشَابِهَاتٌ. But in between those things are things that there's doubt about. We don't know. And that's true. Those are the things that maybe are like music or zabi for food or the moon or whatever. Whatever that is to you, those are the things that maybe they're not disgusting, but we don't know the right answer. The Prophet ﷺ says, the person who hovers around that, the person who indulges in the gray matters, maybe it's not haram at the beginning, but because they feel like they can get away with it. Who's going to stop me if I'm indulging in the gray matters? The Prophet ﷺ says, eventually you'll fall into that ditch. You're running around this ditch, and you're so far away and you feel comfortable because you're like, there's no way I'm going to fall, I'm 100 feet around. And then you slowly come closer and closer and closer and closer. And your justification, my rationalization is I haven't fallen yet, so maybe I'll be okay. I haven't gotten caught yet, so maybe I'll be okay, until we're so close that we trip and we fall inside and then we're stuck. And then we're stuck in this wrong thing. Staying away from the gray matters, staying away from things that you're not getting caught about, are not necessarily because of the accountability that's involved, which is obviously something should warn us. But it's about something more profoundly worse. The Prophet ﷺ continues this hadith, and he talks about this example, this idea of haram and halal, and then he finishes with a discussion about our hearts. And he says in the body there's this flesh, and this flesh is an indication of how the body will be. And he says this flesh, piece of flesh, is your heart. That if we allow for ourselves to be comfortable with that which is wrong, not because everyone else is doing it, which is its own problem, but a step worse, we recognize that it's wrong, but we don't feel like we're going to get caught. We don't feel like there's going to be accountability. He says that this is worse because not only does it allow for you to do the wrong thing, it destroys your heart. It decays away at that fitrah that we're talking about that is meant to keep you on the right track. We can make mistakes. We can watch pornography every single night. But when we start feeling comfortable with it, that's when we have nothing left. That's when we feel like, well, I can do anything I want to because there's nothing correcting me from that which is wrong. قولوا قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الله والملائكة يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. How do we fight this one example? How do we stop ourselves from just being comfortable in doing the wrong thing because we can get away with it? We become people of principle. We decide that we're going to do something not because we'll get caught. I'm not going to treat my friend or my mother or my brother or my sister poorly just because what are they going to do? Is my mom going to leave me? Is my mom not going to love me anymore? Of course she's going to love me. She gave birth to me. So I can treat her like crap because I can get away with it. I'm going to cheat on this exam because thousands of people are cheating. It's a Chem 1. And 2, what are they going to do? Catch me? There's so many people in this room. TAs don't care. They're stupid anyways. So I'm going to get away with it. We have to change this understanding, not because the repercussions are bad, which is obviously something we should think about, but because it decays our heart. When we become comfortable with cheating, we become comfortable with lying, then we become comfortable with stealing, and then we become comfortable with anything that our nafs desires. But it's hard to become a principle all at once. The first time I said, change your point of reference to someone who's better. In this example, change your point of reference to one hadith. One hadith. Just find one hadith, and that's the hadith you're going to live your life by. And you'll mess up everywhere else. But you'll say, the Prophet ﷺ said the best actions are praying on time, so I'll white lie. I will do terrible things that I'm not supposed to be doing when no one's watching. I will cheat on my exam, but I will pray on time. Because that's my one principle. Even if there are opinions out there that says when you're traveling, you can pray, well, that is a completely legitimate opinion. Even if I have a test today, I have a chemistry exam today, it's okay if I combine my salah. It's okay if I pray at the end of the day. You say, no, this is my shtick. Because this is my shtick, I'm going to pray on time no matter what. But maybe prayer is not your thing. Maybe the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الرِّفْقَ لَا يَكُونَ فِي شَيْءٍ إِلَّا زَانَهُ. Prophet ﷺ said that there's not anything except when the kindness has put into it, that it beautifies that thing. Or when it's been removed, that it leaves it defective. You say, I'm not that good with my prayers. I'm not that good about my white lies, but I'm always going to be nice. Even when I'm aggravated. See, a principle a principle isn't predicated on your disposition. It's not predicated on context. A principle is a promise that you're going to be someone better. You choose the hadith you wish to live by. I know I talked about one thing above most things because I understand that that's a problem that plagues not only college students, A'udhu billah, Allah protect us, it plagues almost every age group now. But there are a lot of things that we're doing wrong. There are a lot of things that we're morally complacent about, and the truth is, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to mess up every day. It's okay to mess up multiple times a day. But it's not okay to be comfortable with it. We can't find apathy in our morality. We have to start to become better. You're here. 50 people are here in this room. Your parents didn't hold you here. They didn't drive you here. No one put a gun to your head, which means you already have the intention that you want to be better. It's your choice about whether you're willing to make the commitment. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows for us to be people who truly become better. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows for every day today and tomorrow to be better than the day before. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He allows for us to see the truth as the truth and gives us the strength to follow it. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ability to see falsehood as falsehood and gives us the strength to stay away from it. Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروا يزدكم واتقوا الله يجعل لكم مخرجا وأقيموا الصلاة.